Okay, everybody, we are in round 4 of the Champ of Champs exhibition event being held in Ohio. If we haven't mentioned it before, the Champ of Champs event is only going to be 5 rounds of Swiss and then cutting to the top 8. So this match we have David McMillan on the left, Scott Flint on the right. Scott Flint is currently undefeated. I believe at this point he's only one of 2 undefeateds in the tournament. We are doing this commentary after the event, but if memory serves, that is where we're at in round 4. Dave McMillan starts off with his only strength teamwork cards may be played. In the doing the commentary with me for this round is going to be Phil the King Keffer.
Hey Joe, I actually had the pleasure of taking a beating from Scott Flint in round four, so I believe we're in round five here.
Oh, round 5. Okay.
Yeah, so I think this is the last round of Swiss, and Scott's already in because he's 4-0. He's one of the only undefeateds, if not the only undefeated at this point. Dave may need to win to get in, maybe not. No, maybe not. He might be a lower seed if he loses this game, but might still get in. Guess we'll
Yes,
see what happens.
and I think you are right about round 5 now that I'm adding it up. I forgot yesterday in the booth we did 1 round of this event. So this is round 5. So this will be the last one before the cut to top 8. Now, David McMillan was one of the people who qualified for this tournament by placing in the top 5. So he's been playing for 2 days now. He had to get into the tournament from the Friday night event. And now, I believe, if I remember right, I think he's already qualified for the top 8 from this too. So these guys are really playing for who's going to get the better seeding when they get into the top 8. You want to get as high as you can and play the people who have placed the lowest in the top 8.
Yeah, and the biggest advantage to placing higher in the Swiss is that the higher ranked, higher seeded player gets to go first in the top eight, which
Yeah.
does is a pretty big advantage, but I think is well worth it. I mean, otherwise the last couple rounds of Swiss just don't really have any meaning for the people who have won.
Yeah, I will say too, so these guys are playing pretty fast. They're just doing a bunch of pokes back and forth, and then immediately defending. Dave's definitely trying to set up these JW hits, you know. So if you pay attention, Dave's using Mole Man as his negator, a pretty commonly unseen character, but he does apply of off-color pressure because he has a. So the JW is a 3 that can't be defended by a special. Heroes for Hire can follow up with an 8 that also can't be defended by a special. And then Mole Man has a 5 energy that can't be defended by a special. All cards very difficult to block and set up a really nice spectrum for Dave's deck. To jump back to what we were saying, yeah, the going first in Overpower, I think, tends to be more important than in other games. So it is really important to try to get those top seeds, Phil. You're exactly right. That's such a big advantage in the top 8 if you get to know you're going first.
Yeah, so he's landed the first three fighting JW attack and the eight follow up, which is basically unblockable. Assuming Scott doesn't play basic universe cards. So Scarlet Witch is going to be one hit away from passing away.
So Scott's
Look,
going to play Lockjaw. He's going to go get an Inhuman Special. It'll be interesting to see what he gets. Now, the Inhuman Special is a version of, if you're more familiar with Master Mold, it works for specials. It can avoid any special card attack made on any frontline character, or it can remove a special card hit. So in theory, if he's worried about the KO pressure on the Witch, he could offensively use it to remove that Heroes for Hire 3, even though he couldn't defend against it with the royal family. But I can't quite see what he got. We'll see soon what he got with that.
can see a Beyonder in Dave's hand, so he's certainly going to have flexibility on deciding what he moves. Oh, it looks like Scott may have gotten the 9 intellect for the Inhumans and is just trying to fight for Venture here.
Dave's playing the Hell's Kitchen battle site, so I'm not sure what he's going to choose. He chooses to lock out Heroes for Hire and say only universe card attacks may be made against Heroes for Hire for the remainder of the battle. I missed the venture, but I know Dave's a big believer in not over venturing. He likes to go low and just try to grind out uh, as much as he can for the venture wins. He doesn't like to do the big 3 or 4 bets unless he knows he's gonna get it. So it looks like Dave's gone 1. I think Scott's gone 2. And Dave is looking at like he's playing the last card out of his hand, which is a Ghost Rider Activator.
Yeah, venturing is a major part of the game, and it really is tricky. I mean, okay, so Dave's playing a discard, a place card, but it's an opponent, so it can't be avoided. It must be negated, which it has been negated. And now I guess Scott has to decide if he wants to keep this placing advantage he has or continue to fight them. He's got to make an attack with that multi four. He's just deciding where to go with it. And Dave's doesn't have any cards left, so I mean Scott has perfect.
Yeah, so Dave's in an interesting position here. I assume Dave was trying to get rid of the avoid because that would have made his 7 really good for venture. So Scott has the 9 or less avoid from spawn in his hand. So he gets a multi-hit on the jammers. He uses the spawn avoid to block the 7. He loses the venture, but he maintains has any hero avoid on the back, on the home base.
It's just such a comfortable feeling having that any hero avoid back there.
It really is. Although, again, that comfort is something that could burn you. That's the other thing about playing some of these fringe characters sometimes. If people don't remember, people always remember Mole Man has a negate. Negators are so important. A lot of times people don't remember that Mole Man has that 5 energy that can't be defended by a special. And if they get painted with those 2 colors off the JW, they can sometimes get themselves into trouble if they think they're safe with that avoid or an activator.
Yeah, I agree. That 5 off of Mole Man is a card that if you don't play Mole Man or you haven't been playing a lot lately.
Yeah, it could completely catch you by surprise for sure. I can tell you, I always go back to Black Panther and want to try to figure out something where he's good. He just doesn't quite have enough cards, but he has that same card. The problem is his is in fighting, and that's his main power type. So it's a little harder to set up a KO with it.
Yeah, in this case, Dave's, I mean, brilliant decision to play Mole Man here. I know that oftentimes you see Beast of Brute in that spot on a deck like this, and that 5 energy combined with the JW from Heroes for Hire really is difficult to stop.
Yeah, I've seen some games for sure too. I think it was the previous tournament to this. It was one of the previous ones. Dave had a great game against Phil Miller and used exactly that maneuver to take out one of his characters in the first hand. Um, and Phil Miller just wasn't ready for it because he had so much special card defense. It can really catch people off guard. Um, so Scott has got his Fortress of Solitude placed on the Inhumans. That's going to give him the ability to, if Dave doesn't have a negate, which he does have one placed now, but he can concede the battle by playing that special, and all the missions return to the piles they're ventured from. That's a very powerful card. Ironically, a lot of people didn't used to play that in the Cadillac. What are your thoughts on that, Phil?
Oh, I mean, if I'm playing any heroes, that will always be in my deck. That's one of the best cards ever made, in my opinion. Just the ability to manipulate venture and the fact that you can place it and hold on to it for a long time. It's similar to that avoid in the back there. Yeah, there was a game in Ohio in 2015. Not to take it too far back, but in the semifinals when I had one of those placed in Gary and just could knock it through it, and we played for hours and I came back from a huge mission deficit because if you can't get that last mission, you just can't win.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I feel the same way, and I know we were sort of ships in the night. I started playing in this league right before you took your hiatus, and there were a lot of the better players wouldn't play it, and I had to say, I was defaulting to a lot of the better players in my deck building, but that was one I just never agreed with. It's just so many times in my overpower career, I've seen that swing games. For me, for my opponent. Um, it just the ability to someone having to go for the win a second time. You can. just kind of guarantee they have to burn themselves out once to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, I never considered not playing that card. I don't remember. I guess I just assumed everybody always played it. I've certainly been crushed by it. Dave Murata knocked me out of the last big national with it. Um, yeah, it's just a savage card. All
Ugh.
right, so Scott just discarded the negate from Moman,
Yep,
and
which makes that even better because you know it's going to go through. So one thing we did talk over, but I do want to point out that was interesting. So Dave fires off a draw three. Looks like he keeps two. He was playing off Hell's Kitchen, the Enforcer six, which is also another card that's difficult to defend. Oh wow!
oh my,
Oh wow!
wow, he has the 5 energy. Oh my gosh.
I think he drew both of those. So off his draw three, I believe he at least drew the negate. I think he drew the five. So Scott tries to use the fortress to flee and do everything we've been talking about. Dave has the negate. He fires back the five, and Scott has held the five energy in hand through the one of the only three cards that would have saved the Scarlet Witch there.
Yeah, Scott's tricky. He will hold cards that most people would otherwise place from time to time, and will catch you expecting something to hit that does not.
Yeah. I believe in the first game, the one we did the commentary on, I was commenting on my own game, but that was against Scott in the first round. And he held a negate in hand on one interaction that I was assumed I was gonna get something through. And then when he negated from hand, he was already beating me pretty badly that game, but I definitely didn't expect it, and it swung things a lot. So Dave is putting that offensive pressure out there, and he's slowly getting those missions into the completed pile. Scott hasn't been able to pull out a win yet, I don't believe, in Venture.
No, Dave is for sure ahead right now. I mean, I guess Scott has a placing advantage by 1 card and has managed to keep Scarlet Witch alive, so that's definitely a win on his part. But he's going to need to get some help venture wise soon, or Dave's just finished this off.
Yeah. So Dave dupes on an enforcer activator. I'm not sure what Dave's playing for a one per deck, but that looks to be a fourth enforcer activator. So I'm curious what his one per deck is.
Um, what Dave's 1 per deck is?
Yeah.
He played the Ghost Rider draw 3 already.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. So I guess he's just playing a lot of cards for enforcers.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Maybe because he wants to have that lockout
It might
available.
be the six though too. You know, the he's doing part of his gimmick is to cards that are harder to defend. In that, I'm gonna look up the text on that real quickly here and see exactly how that one is. So hold on, I've got the directory right here.
So they're just placing out now. Dave's just placed a level 1 power card, top of the 8 any power for Starjammers.
So that six is Ox. Axe is a level six strength attack. Cannot be defended by a card with an intellect icon. Um, you know, the weakest of that type of card because people do have the ability to play 3 grid heroes for their activators, but I also feel like we've seen a lot less of that. People haven't been quite as strict about doing that lately, so there's a good chance it gets past some activators for other decks. This is obviously Scott's playing any heroes, so it's a little bit less relevant.
Yeah, there's also a lot of old 1 per decks that don't have an intellect icon. So like Ghost Riders multi 8 or
Mm.
any of the big multi attacks from the early sets before intellect was prevalent. That's it's one of the big downsides to the morph avoid out of AOA battle site that's often played.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Dave is currently 4-3. It looks like he's just gone one. Um, Neither player was able to get too huge an amount of cards placed. Scott was still able to maintain one. Interesting. So Dave is going to go to his Spartan training ground home base. and throw a level 4 multi as an 8 as Scarlet Witch. He's trying to snake through an attack that'd be a little harder to block, but Scott does have the spawn protect the innocent in hand. So he's able to avoid an attack of 9 or less.
And Dave really wants to get rid of Scarlet Witch.
Hmm. Dave's sitting on that 5, so Scott knows he needs to keep something in hand that can defend it.
They're both really trying to get rid of the Gator. It seems.
Hmm. And now this is Scott making a new play. One of the power ups to the any character cards following the removal of Dow is they have the first restriction removed off them, meaning they can now follow up allies and additional attacks. So Scott did save the 5 multi. He uses it to block the 5 energy.
Yeah, I mean
He's,
Scott's very had the right power cards to defend Scarlet Witch. I'm surprised she's still alive. All right, so that's finite power coming from spawn. So that's basically a target character can attack, except it's not quite as good as a full block. Dave has the ability to discard 2 cards to make an attack.
but discarding 2 cards is such a devastating cost anyway. Unless you're going for a game point situation, it's essentially going to function as a lockout.
It's pretty crushing. I do agree. I do agree.
Looks like Scott still has at least 2 cards in hand. So I think this might be one where Dave just has to give it up. He's taken a hit. He doesn't really, if he doesn't have an easy way to defend that, I think maybe he just has to accept that Scott got the better of him this round and hope that his 2 cards and his trainings work out better than whatever Scott's going to continue to draw.
It's Dave's. I think
My suspicion is he has a defense and he's trying to decide if he wants to use it or not. That's
most
the
likely.
other thing to consider in these situations with Scott. If he uses a card out of hand to defend this, Scott's going to have a pretty good idea that Mole Man is open. And so even if he does defend it and can fire back, Scott might be able to just throw that teamwork with a follow up and guarantee that he kills Mole Man because Dave's only going to have 1 card left in hand. So Scott's got 3 cards. He has a second negate in his hand for sure. I didn't see
Yeah,
what
that's
the
what
other
I was
2
gonna
are.
say. Another one was Power Search card. If it was, that would mean another.
Come on, Scott. Just tilt your hand a little bit forward. As we continue to bring these commentaries to you, we're going to continue to improve equipment. Someday we are going to have the hand cams like at a poker tournament. Uh, so Dave throws the 6 intellect through. Got still got a 6 energy, so he's definitely got a negate in hand, and he's got a negate placed. Dave's got an enforcer's activator in hand. Based on what he's played from the enforcers, I can't. Oh, so he does have the teamwork. This could be
So
rough.
I
I
guess he
think.
does have another power card. All right, go with that. It's nasty when somebody throws a teamwork at the end of the battle when you didn't think it was a playable card.
Yep, it totally is. If you're sort of subconsciously assuming it would have gone early, so he could have put the KO pressure on, but I can't see Dave's other card. Okay, it's the hand. So he's going to get the initial block with that. So the question here is, I mean, I can't imagine it's an intellect power card. Yeah, I was going to say most anything thrown is going to be for the kill. Dave knows he doesn't have the defense with the enforcers to defend that, so he's going to let him die. So Dave at this point is probably going to throw. The irony here is if he were to discard the card in hand in the 8, he could actually kill Scarlet Witch right now. But I don't think there's any way you make that play.
Right. Yeah, the multi one would have killed Scarlet Witch, but just don't know.
I
And
mean,
the long
he
term pain of discarding those cards is not.
yeah.
You do find this situation a lot where you have like that 8 any power and or an 8 power card. You have 11 on something because of the JW follow up, and you're always just that one shy. Cumulative.
Scott, interesting, is playing the discard all teamworks, no teamwork, any power, or sorry, any mission event card. Not something you usually see with a Cadillac, but he is playing the variant that doesn't back up the fighting, so he may be a lot lower on teamworks. However, I don't believe Dave's playing, he might be playing one or two strength teamworks, but he's also going an anti teamwork strategy, so that plays into what Dave is hoping to have happen, which is guaranteeing that no teamworks are going to come his way.
Yeah, so that card single-handedly won the game against me. That card for Scott because he had some teamworks early in the game, and then I had mine later. And right when he got that, I had one placed and two in hand, and he just was able to bench. I was just crushing. But it is quite a gamble to play it along with teamworks. So yeah, I agree. You don't normally see it.
Yep. I did it. I was actually doing a similar strategy. I was playing Shattered Image with my Cyclops deck, and I was only running three teamworks. Um, so I played that, no cards with the word negate and no activators. And it was generally good for me, but then it also lost me one of my games. And that's the problem with a high variance setup is it might win you a lot of games, but if that time that it loses you the game is in the elimination, then you end up losing the whole tournament. So you're always evaluating the risk versus reward for those type of decisions.
Yeah, I generally think that players that don't place as high can get away with more of that stuff than other players that do place high regularly. Yeah. So okay, Scott's attacking with, I believe that's the new A next. Is that correct? Or is that an any hero?
Yep. No, that is the aspect.
Okay.
It's how do you say it's Canupa? It's, one of the Incan gods, but it functions the same as the original A next. It has to be played first on your turn. It's a 4 strength attack, and then allows any character on the front line to make an additional attack.
It's actually a really strong card because when you're having trouble with a string and somebody attacks with say a four, make an additional, and you could make a nasty string of follow-ups, you can just negate that card. But since this is an aspect, you don't have that ability.
Absolutely. And I've seen there was I can try to remember which game. There's a pretty big game that was decided when I first started. I think a finals exactly because of that. I think there was a negate being held in someone's hand, and that got thrown as a kill shot on the negator.
Crushing. All right, so that's a nine or less avoid.
Yeah. So Dave blocks the 4. Then this comes across. Dave's going to concede. So Dave's going to hope that this, he's now put one in the bottom. He's put one in the middle. So he's at 3-3-1. But he's managed to get Scott to use a lot of his placed cards. Scott's only got 2 cards placed to Dave's 5, and Dave has a lot of heat.
Another thing to notice is that Scott discarded any hero avoid can't be attacked cataclysm card, which means that he's not playing the draw three any hero, which, I would say is more popular. And I don't know because he's playing Shattered Image. I'm curious if he's playing a no draw event, possibly.
Is it
I
just
haven't
just to
seen.
clarify, are you talking about the any hero that's on top of Scott's dead pile right now?
No, there was another one in his
Okay.
hand. Yeah, it's fairy protection, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure then. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that, so I just didn't know. The one on the top is the select the slain.
No, yeah, there was another one.
Mm, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
so I haven't seen the event though that I would think might be there also, but maybe he doesn't want to play three of them.
so Dave just gets Dave follows up the last battle with his event. Discard all teamworks, no teamworks may be played. Uh, so Dave has to place his strength teamwork. Scott counts the teamwork when he's doing his math for how many playable cards. But both the teamwork placed on spawn, they both had a teamwork they had to place that's going to be unplayable this battle.
Yeah,
Dave does what I think is really important, which is Dave always keeps the event right in the middle of the battlefield. When you play these long tournaments, that becomes really important. It's easy to forget what's in play. I've done it many times.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Another thing that Larry Van Etten was having me do, which I've never done before, but I sort of like, I place my cards the same way these people tend to, which is vertically. And Larry was having me, when I got a no teamwork event, was having me turn all my teamwork sideways as a reminder that they couldn't be played. I don't hate asking people to do that as well.
Yeah,
So
it is hard. It is harder to read them when they're sideways. You know what's going on.
Scott's got the Inhumans Gorgon card in his hand, the four that discards all placed cards if it's successful. I believe he's got the pin as well. I think those are his two cards. I haven't been able to see what Dave has, but that four could be really annoying if Dave doesn't have a good defense against it, if he throws it against the jammers right now.
That card can be nasty. It's discard a place card or all place card? Is it
All
all place?
placed cards if it's successful.
Okay.
He's also put his shield of double negating up. So that's a big part of Scott's strategy this tournament is just a lot of defense for special cards. He's got three royal families, three negates, and any hero negate.
So that's Medusa. That's target character can't attack for remainder of battle, and that would lock down quite a lot of Dave's cards.
Dave's got a Ghost Rider. That's not going to be helpful here. Even if he's playing the avoid is I believe it's energy and fighting.
That sounds right. Yeah, I Ghost Rider is awfully weak as a character out of the battle site after the draw three card.
Yeah. I mean the discard I like the discard a placed card, but he's not offering you any real defense.
So this is where any hero deck shines. Um, the longer the game goes, usually cards coming out of the battle site become progressively weaker, and the any heroes are just as strong anyway as they would have been. So you don't have as much versatility early game, but you have um, more of a long game.
Ah, and that's a bad time for that. So Scott gets the no activators. Now Dave gets really lucky and only has an Electra activator.
And as you can see, it is a three stat. So Dave is doing his work, getting his that character.
Now Dave managed to get ahead early on, but Scott's I think Scott's kind of incorporating a very similar strategy. He's not making any big bets. He's just betting slowly and also just trying to. They're both kind of grinding this match out. Not a lot of big mistakes. I mean, we've seen Dave got those two hits on Scarlet Witch, I believe, in the first hand, and hasn't been able to land a single hit since. And Scott's just been slowly coming back on Venture, picking off one of his characters, getting another hit out there. It looks
Yeah,
like Scott's got two. I think he's 502, and it looks like Dave is either 151 or two. I think he's 151 right now.
yeah, for the win here. I mean, if he ventures four, there's a good chance Dave's going to draw active.
Looks like they're both just going to go two. So they're staying with their strategy. Neither one is committing too hard, but they've both gone two, so they're definitely committing that they're going to fight.
So Scott starts with a fighting teamwork here. It's 7, so both follow up on +2, which is really strong, especially if you have an 8 to follow. In this case, he doesn't. So Dave blocks with 7 fighting, and now we got a multi 4 follow up coming as a 6.
So they Yeah, so he
Oh
played the
no,
4 as an intellect from Scarlet Witch, and now he's throwing the big 8. Dave just lets it hit. He doesn't have a
I'm
defense
sorry.
for.
Yes, did have an 8 to follow it. Yeah, so it's very hard to block an 8 or coming as a 10.
Yep. Dave is throwing the ally. He lets it spawn, lets it hit. Um, Now I think maybe Scott's realizing oh, Scott has a duplicate
No.
7. So that's now luckily for Scott, the rules on reneging aren't quite as bad as it used to be. So they're going to have a little bit of a discussion. I forget at this point in the hand, you'd have to check the player guide. I believe Dave's going to get the option to increase his venture now if he wants to.
Huh. And Scott would not get to draw for that.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I certainly need to look more into the new rules for reneging because yeah, that's very dangerous what Scott's doing, playing two different pictures of the same power card.
And that's exactly why, like, no matter how experienced you are, you get tired and your brain, like everybody works off visual cues and sometimes your brain just glazes over it when the picture is different. I never play different power cards in a deck when I get to a tournament. I always make sure they have matching art.
Yeah, in this tournament I played a lot of I played split eights on the front line, and so I had different power cards almost all the way down, and I was very concerned. Like when I changed one of my threes to a fighting instead of a multi, I was like, this decision could lose me the tournament if I'm not paying attention. Fortunately, it didn't, but didn't. I
Oh,
didn't have
another
a
thing to note too is remembering that Scott knows there's no activators. So when Scott throws that 8 as a 10, he knew that that wasn't going to be able to be blocked based on the characters on Dave's team.
Yeah, that's true. 100% that goes through because the training ground you can only block it. So it's heroes for hire. I'm curious why Dave threw the three against Spawn. I mean, I guess he's really worried about the venture, and maybe just because the three intellect was placed, he didn't want to make.
Well, yeah, and if I think he wanted to force Spawn to have to use that 7. You know, most people are going to block that first hit if they can because they know that the follow-up could be a 3 and an 8 that can't be defended by the specials. So I think Dave's just thinking if he chews up that 7 with a 3, he's getting a 4-point venture gain. Now, Dave, I guess we did say that there's no card in the deck that could have defended that level 10 energy attack. If somebody was playing Luke Cage for Heroes for Hire, that lets him defend against either an energy or a strength attack. But most people do not play that card.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised it doesn't see more play since Heroes for Hire is so important and pretty much always attacked.
And
But
the meta still, as many changes as have happened. Oh, there's the 11.
oh, and you can avoid it, not negate it. That's even better because now Dave cannot attack with Heroes for Hire. Either.
Yep.
Bet Dave thought that was going to get
Wow.
Power Leech, Grim
That
Reaper.
is Grim Reaper, which is the new any hero essentials pack version of Power Leech. I don't know what power type he called, but he's gone with the teamwork. He's gone with a power card, a teamwork, and a power card.
Wow, and it hits. So maybe Strength. Yeah, that's a huge card late in the game. Dave can't block it with no. So yeah, no activators combined with.
Yeah, this is a tough situation for Dave. Scott's had all the answers and just getting his bombs a little later in the game have been. It's really every time Dave looks like he's set up to come back, Scott's pulled something out that's changed things for him.
This has been a help. Feel for Dave. He's definitely played a good game here, and yeah, that's what he wanted to draw out with the 11. Get it, like that card.
He can't defend heroes for hire, and they go down to a power card. It's also this can be such a frustrating situation too, where he plays the 11, he plays a draw 3, he's still got an 11 and hasn't been able to punch through all that special card defense. There's still a Merlin negate placed on the Inhumans. He still knows the 11 isn't going to go through, and he has to ultimately concede.
So Dave's done 2 characters, Jammers and Spider. Ludiger 8's only 8 stat is well.
I don't know. I'll be honest, in that situation, Dave's got the 6-drop 2 in hand. I may have actually thrown that and made him use one of the defensive cards. At this point, Heroes for Hire is already dead. He's not representing any kind of chain that can kill a character. I might have just gambled and tried to make him use up those last couple of cards. We see Scott's about to go into Power Pack, and Dave is known for playing larger decks. Um, I think I would have tried to get him to use the negate or the 6-drop 2 and just hoped that maybe I could pull something out with the jammers next turn.
You're saying the 6 fighting, Heroes for Hire had passed away, yes, though?
Oh, that's why. Okay, thank you. That's the key I'm missing there is he couldn't actually play that 6.
So yeah, it looks like Scott's got 1 discard, which is really bad since he's in power. And he's going to be able to go for it. Good. Basically out of gas. Dave Dave still has playable cards in his deck. We've seen most of the Heroes for Hire cards come out and the Mole Man cards, so Dave might not have a lot of bad dupes in there either. If Dave can survive this hand, you might have a chance.
Yeah, I mean the difficult part for Dave is going to be if he gets to Power Pack. The choice to play the Inhumans the way Scott has, that makes it so his 8 is triple redundant. It's going to be really tough to ever not have Scott have an 8 in Power Pack.
Yeah, his deck's not going to be quite as powerful early, but he's clearly chosen a long game strategy, and it's worked exceptionally well for him. He went 7-0 in the Swift with this deck at the OP Cup 2023, and he is still undefeated in this tournament. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's only a matter of time before we see Scott certainly at a finals, and then if not, putting away a final.
yeah, I agree.
Dave makes a big bet here. I'm not sure the mentality, but it looks like he went 5 for the loss and just wants to make him have to fight it here. Now, Dave does have a Penance Stare in hand. I don't know. I didn't see what else he has to try to make this work.
I think it's just
Um,
because he was in the power pack and he didn't. He's just going to draw cards he already has.
yeah, that makes sense. So Dave's just going to choose to fight this
Oh, that's
battle.
crushing. Discard the 11. One of the few cards Scott still had left with this card.
Yeah, that is crushing. And again, sometimes that's why, sometimes you got to just throw those to just eat up the defense. Now, at least that makes him use the negate, but you really wanted to make him use that negate when the 11 was still on the table.
And now he's playing 3 just to make sure he gets to play it out.
Mm.
And again, that Scarlet Witch inherent is just
Yeah, it's a rough time for it.
block that. Then Scott.
I think I might have thrown that at Spawn at this point. I mean, I guess he wants him to have to use, he wants her to not be able to use an 8 energy power card to defend.
Sometimes you just don't get off. I'm a little confused about the goal of killing Scarlet Witch at this point since he's the lowest stat character and
Yeah, because he's got 4 points on Spawn. So those, if Scott can't defend those 8s, 2 8s would have got rid of Spawn. And if he happens to have any fighting power cards that are only playable, Scott's got another. So Scott seems to be playing. I think that's a 4th negate we've seen now for Scarlet Witch. So Dave
um,
had the right idea early on.
I'm guessing that was. I didn't count them, but
I'm pretty
that
sure
seems
that's
to
the
have them.
4th one we've seen.
He seemed to have them all.
Yeah, Dave also used that training card defensively. That's another thing I was gonna say is I think I would have use that offensively to make it. He could have manufactured a hand where that Doctor Strange diff card was almost dead in the back. Scott's just throwing out those low power cards and putting the KO pressure on.
There it is.
And Dave offers the handshake. I don't really have anything. I don't think there were any big mistakes or any big turning points. I just think we saw a very well played game on both sides. They both, they both had a long game strategy of grinding out Venture.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there was anything that I would say that turned the game, it was the fact that Scott had the mid-range power cards to block the 5 energies for the kill for Mole Man, and that was just, you know, probably only played maybe 2 5s, 2 4s, and he happened to have them.
Yeah, and kept him in hand always. So Dave always wanted to take that shot and was never sure if he was going to have it. But that is true. Dave got the sweet setup that he wants right from the beginning. He made it so the energy cards that are hard to defend were kill shots, and just wasn't able to set that up the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Scott again, undefeated in the Swiss here. So this is going to be really exciting to see what he can do in the top 8.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys, that is the Swiss. I believe mathematically, we will see both Dave and Scott in the top 8.
Yeah, guys, stay with us.